Tune into Nice Radio every Saturday at 7:30 a.m. for A View from the Outside, hosted by Brereton Horne. A View from the Outside takes a look at key issues affecting St. Vincent and the Grenadines and gives a global perspective on how these issues are viewed. Host Brereton Horne will examine a variety of topics to enlighten, stimulate debate, and explore solutions. Hear the facts, hear the real-life stories, hear A View from the Outside. Join Brereton Horne at 7:30 a.m. every Saturday on Nice Radio for A View from the Outside.
This society needs a spectacle. It might help us to see some need.
On A View from the Outside this week being the 9th of April 2022, we look at the 7 principles of public life. And we do so with the expectation and the hope that Vincentians in all spheres of life, especially those who are involved in one way or the other in public life, will apply these principles in everything said and or done in fulfilling their various roles. More than a quarter of a century ago, in 1994, the 7 principles of public life came into being in the United Kingdom, in the UK, when the then UK government established what is referred to as the Committee on Standards in Public Life. The committee was chaired by a senior judge, Michael Patrick Nolan, Lord Nolan, as he became known. The main task of the committee was to make recommendations to improve standards of behavior in public life. The committee made several recommendations which are commonly referred to as the 7 principles of public life, or the Nolan Principles, named after the chairman. The 7 principles are selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, and leadership. These 7 principles of public life apply to anyone who works as a public office holder. This includes all of those who are elected or appointed to public office, all those appointed to work in the civil service, the police, the courts, and the probation service, including the prisons, health, education, social and care services. All public office holders are both servants of the public and stewards of public resources. The principles apply to all those in other sectors delivering public services. It is with all of that in mind, and with the falling standards in public life in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, that we, on A View from the Outside, encourage the adopting of these or similar principles with the goal of improving standards in public life in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We will now look at each of these standards in turn. Selflessness. Pertaining to selflessness, the committee recommended that all holders of public office should act solely in terms of the public interest. The lesson here is that if you are a holder of public office, you ought to act in the interest of the public and no one else, not in the interest of any politician, including the Prime Minister or anyone else for that matter. Integrity. In relation to integrity, the principle states that holders of public office must avoid placing themselves under any obligation to people or organizations that might try inappropriately to influence them in their work. They should not act or take decisions in order to gain financial or other material benefits for themselves, their family, or their friends. They must declare and resolve any interests and relationships. As far as this principle is concerned, it is clear that without integrity, corruption becomes rife, and standards in public life will hit rock bottom, something which St. Vincent and the Grenadines is said to be plagued with currently. Bigger Bigs and many others have suffered because some civil servants and others do things at the behest of politicians whom they allow to inappropriately influence their work rather than maintaining their integrity. With this principle in operation, contracts will be awarded fairly, and companies including Bally and Bally, Cameron Dinky Balcom and others will feel more comfortable and assured to apply for contracts. With this principle in operation, the fiasco involving the situation with the Caribbean Development Bank, where it had to take back its money or monies from the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, could have been avoided and embarrassment spared. Objectivity. The objectivity principle states that holders of public office must act and take decisions impartially, fairly, and on merit, using the best evidence and without discrimination or bias. This principle guards against making decisions to satisfy a prime minister or another politician. It guards against making decisions on the basis of party partisanship, etc. No decision ought to be made against someone just because they do not support the ruling party. It is plain wrong to do so. Accountability. As far as accountability goes, the Nolan Principle states that holders of public office are accountable to the public for their decisions and actions and must submit themselves to the scrutiny necessary to ensure this. Clearly, as far as this principle is concerned, St. Vincent and the Grenadines has fallen way short of any acceptable standard. Those elected to government have constantly refused to provide accountability to the public. They refuse to provide accountability to the people. They have even ignored the constitution of the country, the highest law of the land, and not provide the requisite accountability. It is nothing but shameful that $95 million have disappeared from the nation's purse without any credible explanation. This principle, the principle of accountability, is designed to guard against these things. Those responsible for the nation's finances must be held accountable. Openness. The principle of openness states that holders of public office should act and take decisions in an open and transparent manner. Information should not be withheld from the public unless there are clear and lawful reasons for doing so. This principle guards against secrecy and stealth in conducting business on behalf of the public or on behalf of the people. This brings into sharp focus the situation which has been unfolding in Richmond pertaining to the total disrespect with which the people of the constituency of North Leeward, and by extension those of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, have been treated. Had this principle been in operation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the quarry operation would never have been started without the farmers knowing about it. Had this principle of openness been in operation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, there would have to have been consultation with the people. Had the principle been practiced, The project would never have been started without an environmental and social impact study specific to the project. Had the principle been in effect, no one could fool you and try to tell you that a 13-year-old study not done for the project can be used on that project. Had the principle been in effect, the farmers and the rest of the people would never have been disrespected in such a blatant and glaring manner, or at all. Honesty. The principle of honesty simply states that holders of public office should be truthful. This principle indicates that it is imperative for holders of public office to be truthful. A country cannot effectively run on lies or untruths. If lies and untruths become the order of the day, things fall apart. With regard to this principle, it is surmised that the truth has become elusive in many instances in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and this has led to many, perhaps rhetorical questions being asked, including, was the truth ever told about the various attempts to deposit $1 million in cash in the account of the Accountant General, the account of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Was the truth ever told in the Yogi Farrell case? Was the truth told about why it was deemed necessary or deemed fit to shut down Bigger Biggs' multi-million-dollar business, which financially and economically lynched him? Was the truth ever told about who murdered Glenn Jackson and why he was murdered? Was the truth ever told about the many accounts revealed by the Panama Papers and of the millions of dollars held in those accounts? Was the truth ever revealed about some in the upper echelons of the ULP and of the millions of dollars held in bank accounts in the USA and elsewhere? Was the truth ever told as to why Dr. Wayne Murray and his wife Simone and their family were targeted and their land taken away from them? Was the truth ever told about the death of Edgar Cruikshank? Was the truth ever told about the shooting of Cornelius John on his private property? Why was he denied justice? It's asked. Will it ever be told in the case of Cornelius John? Will the truth ever be told about the 26th of April shooting death of the police officer Sergeant 209 Chambers? Will the truth ever be told about the February 2022 death of the 18-year-old motorcyclist C.J. Weeks following an incident allegedly involving the police? Will the truth ever be told to the public in C.J. Weeks' case? There are many more rhetorical questions that are being asked, and whether the truth will ever be told about them. And there are many more questions that will continue to be asked by the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Leadership. Leadership is listed as the last in the list of the 7 principles, but it is by no means the least of them. This principle, leadership, states that holders of public office should exhibit these principles in their own behavior and treat others with respect. They should actively promote and robustly support the principles and challenge poor behavior whenever it occurs. This principle puts the onus on each individual to be responsible for their own behavior. It puts the onus on each individual to treat others with respect. It puts the onus on each individual to robustly support each and every principle. It puts the onus on each individual to robustly challenge poor behavior. Therefore, when one sees others breaking the rules, they must challenge them and hold them to account there and then. So when you see others breaking the rules, you must challenge them and you must hold them to account there and then. It is clear that standards in public life have fallen significantly in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It is also clear that the country and its people continue to be disadvantaged because of such fallen standards. We, on a view from the outside, are therefore of no doubt that an adoption of these principles will immensely benefit St. Vincent and the Grenadines and its people. And as such, the onus is now on the people to take the correct stand to ensure that standards improve. The onus is on the people to ensure that those in the leadership of the country are willing and equipped to implement these principles. Neither the government nor others in public life should be allowed to run amok. The onus is on the people to ensure that if those in leadership show very little or no regard for these principles, then they ought to be replaced with those who will. Stand up, be principled, and be counted, Vincentians. As you make that stand, ponder on these words from the Good Governance Institute, the GGI, who said, "You won't find many people who disagree with the Nolan principles of integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, and leadership." Don't be one of those to disagree, Vincentians. Take the stand. Do what is principled and right for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Until next week, this is Brereton Horne with a view from the outside, with a reminder to send your feedback as usual to aviewfromtheoutside@hotmail.com. We also invite you to visit and like our Facebook page at A View From The Outside, and also to visit and subscribe to our YouTube channel at JMB Horne. Have a pleasant Saturday, have a wonderful Sunday, and have a productive week ahead as we demand more, as we demand better standards in public life.